Hey everyone, Laurel here, Minnesota Zone 5A. Just decided I wanted to do a garden tour this evening because it is cool and the next couple days are going to be beastly hot. So a little bit breezy, but kind of the last day of comfortable temperatures we're going to have for a little while. I just did an update tour on the container garden over here. I don't see ton of bees on the honeysuckle going after the aphids, some, but their aphids are definitely still very present. You see them all piled onto that leaf there. So I just keep spraying this down and hopefully keeping it under control. The sedum over here is just looking glorious. It's going to be so pretty when it blooms. This is the Rock and Grow Back in Black sedum from Proven Winners. These two have been on the ground a year longer than that one, which is why that one's smaller. Flowering plants over here look good. The Rudbeckia is starting to put out flowers. That is American Gold Rush, which is very resistant to fungal disease on its leaves, a newer variety. And then we have the Senorita Rosalita Cleome. I've never grown Cleome before, but it's pretty low maintenance, as I hear. Doing well. And then some Alyssum that just seeds itself. I planted some that I started from seed a few years ago, and it just keeps seeding itself every year. And another patch of this Rudbeckia. I had a big, huge one here. Okay, sorry about that. Hopefully my camera just stays with it. Anyway, I had a big, huge Rudbeckia here, that same variety, for a few years, and it fell victim to Fusarium leaf wilt, which is a systemic fungal disease, but 2 chunks survived, so I'm pleased about that. We've got blooms starting. Hummingbirds love these, bees love these. This is Fragrant Bouquet Hosta. Huge blooms and really smells delicious in the evening, like jasmine, very sweet. These phlox that I will be moving one of these days are starting to bloom, so I'm just leaving them. I'm slowly working on preparing the area those are gonna move into. I had 3 there, and last year I dug one out and gave it to my neighbor, although I don't think it survived winter at her house. Tiny Wine 9 Bark is huge. Not really tiny, but really gorgeous colors. That purple, red, dark green. The new growth coming up is kind of brighter red. Love this shrub. And then I did cut back. This is an opening act phlox from Proven Winners. I cut it back a couple weeks ago. I let it go probably too long, and it's working on pushing out some new blooms. This one probably doesn't get enough sun to bloom as frequently as the ones in full sun do. I also cut back the blooms on the lamb's ear, so that's starting to perk up again and will flush back out. Same thing with the lady's mantle. I cut off the remaining bloom stalks on those too. This is that shrub. What's it called? It's coming. All my brain wants to think is Joe Pyeweed, and that's definitely not it. St. John's wort, that's it. I knew it had a J in there. Bloomed yellow a few weeks ago, but that's done blooming. And the Leotris is still blooming. I see we got 2 stalks that maybe keeled over, but little patch of Leotris, kobold back here. And then I do have 2 little hostas planted, not hostas, coleus planted in there too, that I got on sale. 2 different varieties, but kind of similar. That little squatty one was stressed, and so it's kind of stunted. So FYI, Bachman's started doing 50% off all annuals. If you are local, they have some nice stuff. So I picked up that other one from Bachman's. We've got the Garden Glow dogwood here. That's massive. So I cut it back this year, not hard enough. I've been cutting the branches because they get so weighed down by rain. But next spring I'm going to do probably a rejuvenation prune. I just did a hosta tour video and went over every hosta variety that I have. So check that out. I also have a Ligularia back there, tucked under the dogwood, being sheltered by it. And then this is always a sign that we're kind of in the back half of summer, is when we start getting blooms forming on the turtlehead chelone. Those bloom towards the end of August. They're really cute pink blooms, but it's always a little sad to know summer may be on the way out. Walk through here. I have plans to take over a lot of this grass. It's just slowly working on it. Oh, look, there's the feral cat, the mother cat. She's been hanging out in the yard. We've been putting out food when she comes around, but not leaving it out. But she's got kittens that are kind of right on the other side of the fence most of the time, so they're super adorable. All these weeds growing through the fence are just crazy, out of control. So I need to get in here and hack them back at some point again. They're populating the garden bed over here. This is I think it's called Pink Diamond Dicentra from Proven Winners. That's done really well over here. I may see if I can find another one or two on clearance this summer. I got that one on clearance last fall. But I would plant 2 more over here if I can find them. And this heuchera has always done well, but I don't remember what kind it is. We've got containers, the Bobo hydrangeas. She's going to run away because I'm getting too close. Bobo hydrangeas are starting to bloom. This one was newly planted last year. These 2 I transplanted, so they're in a little bit more sun and they're doing well. And then this is the pineapple sage called Rockin' Golden Delicious from Proven Winners. If you live in a climate where you have a really, really long growing season, or if this is hardy and not an annual, it will bloom bright red flowers. But here, it didn't last year, and I doubt it will this year. They just take too long to emerge. So, and make our way over here. I have been buying up sale annuals and popping them in places. I put, that's a White Knight Alyssum that I got for like $1.50. You can kind of see under here all these violas that self-seed. I planted some here a few years ago, and they just keep seeding themselves adorably. And this GM, I think is called Red Dragon. It keeps putting out new bloom stalks, so I really like this one. Took a few years to bloom. That was a clearance plant a while back. There's the cat enjoying the bird bath water, which I keep fresh for her and the birds. Yeah, this garden looks really nice. A bunch of Japanese painted ferns. We've got a heucherella down there. Again, a whole bunch of hostas. In the back there is a pulmonaria called Moon Dust. And then an all gold Hakana Cloa grass kind of peeking up there in the middle. And then pink lipstick impatiens. I bought a number of clearance impatiens and planted them in the Pachysandra. Let her scoot off. And maybe I can show. It's okay. I'm not going to chase you. I think she's used to me. She knows I'm not going to chase her, but she still doesn't really want me to get too close. Makes her nervous. She was born feral. There's a large feral cat population in the Twin Cities, so she doesn't really want to be inside or around people or pet or anything. She never has been. These are looking really nice now, filling out the bronze leaf red begonias. I just got a flat of like mixed colors, so we have bronze. I separated them out, although clearly there is a white one in the bunch. When I planted them, some of them weren't blooming, so I just had to guess. And then we've got a pink and white container mix over here. And I popped some more sale annuals in the ground. They're like $2 or less, so why the heck not? You can kind of see all the impatiens. I think there's lipstick are the hot pink ones. There's salmon, the salmony pink ones, and then violet are the purpley ones. A little patch of lamium back there. Some dwarf goat's beard down here, a couple of them. And then these coleus are the Kong red. Got those for free from my uncle. And I've been kind of working on this area here. I popped in a sail bacopa, which just looks so nice. That one kind of had a bare spot, so I threw that in there. The goal is to get rid of all the grass back here and all along, all the way down the fence, so that I can dot in a few more evergreens for winter interest, and also just not have to mow back here. So I've been slowly working on that. This is like mosquito central back here, especially this year because we've had so much rain. Although today it's nice and windy, so it's keeping the mosquitoes down. I also found some broken bags of some nice mulch. My mulch will not match for the next few years. I'm just going to buy whatever I can find that's cheapest, but these were $2 a piece and pretty much full, so that's nice. This is just native Monarda or bee balm, bergamot, whatever you call it. Been blooming away. The bees and pollinators have been loving that. And you can see it is very prone to powdery mildew. Pretty much all bee balm is prone to powdery mildew, including the native varieties. And it has self-seeded a couple places, so that's good. I like that. Pixie fountain grass over here, just kind of a placeholder for now. I'll be moving stuff around. And then these three grasses are panicum. Is it called Cheyenne Sky, I think, from Proven Winners? I did buy up some more Sedona Sunset Coleus on clearance. So I'll have a little trio there. This hosta blooms. I like this. This is the striptease hosta, and I like how upright the blooms are. A lot of times they kind of drape, but those are like stick straight. And this is Sun King Aurelia. I just planted this last year, and look how huge it is. Those plants are so cool. Part shade. Another pollinator favorite. I'm hoping to attract some butterflies. This is a Eupatorium, which is Joe Pyeweed. This one is called Boneset, is the common name for it. I am a little bit worried about this viburnum. It is starting to turn colors, which this early in the season usually means there's some kind of stress going on. So what I need to do is kneel down and crawl under there and see if there's anything going on. I know, mosquito bugging me. The one that I had planted here, I had a trio of them, and I've replaced it now with this Arbovita. But that one had canker, and it's a disease that ended up girdling the entire trunk of the plant and killing it. And I could just pull it out with my bare hands. So I don't know. We'll see. This Heucherella is looking really pretty too. I think that one's called like butterscotch or butter rum. I think that's it, butter rum. And these two I think are also butter rum. Heucherella. I have better luck with Heucherella in my garden. They tend to come back more reliably. And they're a little bit more adaptable if you have unfavorable conditions like drought, tons of drought or tons of rainfall, I've found. This section, a whole lot of sale annuals. Some things that I seeded, grew from seed. I have this little patch of foxglove. I'm tired of looking. These are the Dalmatian cream. Beautiful blooms, like cream with brown polka dots inside of them. Tired of looking at these dead stems, but I really want them to drop some seeds here. See if they can propagate them. Basil, some Meizu. There's a heliotrope here. I think that one's called Fragrant Delight or Fragrant something. Fragrant Delight, I think. Some extra canna starts that I had from my rhizomes. And then some annual Rudbeckia that I grew from seed. That lungwort is looking really pretty. This pulmonaria is just huge. That one's called Trevi Fountain. Virginia. Looking good. I have some hardy geranium that died way back and we're not looking so great. So kind of in between, I planted all of this dwarf morning glory. It's called the Blew My Mind Evolvulus because I found it all on clearance, like less than $2 a plant. So I just bought a bunch up and popped it in there. And this is called Torchlight, I think. It was stressed. I bought it on clearance, of course. popped it in there, and it's starting to take on, it's supposed to have much brighter colors. So the ageratum looks really nice. This is the Artist Blue, this patch of 3 from Proven Winners. This is the Aguilera Sky Blue. That one bloomed first and was covered like these ones were. And then the blooms kind of died back, so I deadheaded a little bit. Now it's sending out some new ones. And then I have some more Artist Blue over here. I have 3 that were originally planted. This one, the feral cats came through, I think, had a fight and crushed it, so I got 2 more on clearance and threw them in there. We've got the geranium are blooming. Those are Americana salmon. And then some self-seeded echinacea from this patch. And a gomphrena that I started from seed. Beautiful hostas, and these are sweet tea heucherella. Kind of like hopscotch, a little bit different leaf shape and slightly different color. The Joylene Nicole daylilies are almost done blooming. Those blooms are so pretty. I love that roughly peach with the bright yellow center, and these actually smell really nice too, except they're kind of short, so I have to really get down there. The only thing I don't like is this foliage. It gets kind of messy looking. The echinacea here has continued, so I originally planted white. I don't know what kind it was clearance. Uh-oh, I think I see one. Yep. See that deformed looking bloom there right in the middle? That is Aster Yellows. I need to find that plant and rip it out. That is spread by insects that feed on plant tissue like leaves and stems. I think it's a virus and very common in echinacea and things in that family. I have already lost several plants over the years to it. But that plant's doomed. It's just going to be more deformed, and then if you leave it in, there's more chance that it will spread to nearby plants when the insects hop from plant to plant. So I'm glad I saw that. I'll have to pull that out. I did find at some of the nurseries, so if you shop the Garden City greenhouses, there are like garden tents that pop up around the Twin Cities. At 4 locations, I have spotted Aster Yellows on some of their echinacea. So I'm guessing they got a batch that was maybe infected, shipped into them. So I'm not going to buy, that's where I find a lot of clearance echinacea, but I'm not going to take the chance and buy any this year. So that's a bummer. I did let them know so that hopefully they can pull the infected ones and no customers go home with them, because that would be a bummer. Over here, we have the rose starting its second flush of bloom. This is a peach drift rose, all budded up. The After 8 lily is just about done. That's been blooming for the last week and a half. It's like a dwarf, it's very faded now. It's a dwarf stargazer, basically. Smells just like a stargazer lily. It smells so good. But you can see lilies just get absolutely decimated by the lily beetle. So that will be my only one of those that I ever plant. And goldenrod, going to start blooming here. This is dwarf variety of goldenrod. I have 3 of them. I can see some are opening. Those usually open in August, so it's about right. I felt like we might be a little bit early a lot of this year, but I don't know, not too much. A few more blooms on the salmon echinacea here, and then I do have some annuals that are filling in. This poor little guy. I just planted this yesterday, but it was in like a greenhouse where it was mostly shaded, so it's already getting burned, but it'll bounce back. That's a guacamole plectranthus. This opening act phlox is putting on its second flush of blooms. I did cut that back a few weeks ago, and it sends out more side shoots and keeps blooming. So love that it has color all year. Same thing with these Cat's Pajamas Nepeta. They just keep putting out more blooms. No blooms yet on the Limelight Prime. I did transplant this. I mean, it's budded, but no open blooms. I did transplant this at the beginning of July, so it had some recovery time, but it's doing good. Then I planted some annuals in here. found another of the sale coleus, and then I think once Garden City does more discount, I'll pick up some other of these too, so I have a nice little patch. Eventually ideally, all the shrubs in here will fill in. They will, as long as they don't die. And so I won't have room for annuals in there anymore, but for now, that's what I'm doing. And a little trio of the Sweet Tea Heucherella again. So Limelight Prime is supposed to get a roughly the same size and kind of look the same as Firelight Hydrangea. So I think they're pretty interchangeable. I do have Firelights over there. These are several years older than the Limelight Prime and the Limelight Prime I just transplanted. But these were the first hydrangeas to open even before my little Quickfire, which are typically the earliest panicle hydrangeas to open. So really like the Firelights. I have a little lime there, the not so little. That thing really took off this year. This is by far the biggest it's ever been. Holy smokes. That is huge. Really tall. And then another switchgrass, Panicum. This one is Shenandoah. I love that kind of purpley tone to the seed heads on that, and just how wispy it is, and it moves in the breeze, brings a lot of movement. Then it has that kind of purpley tone at the end of the leaves too. Really gorgeous. I have two of them in there up against the back of the garage. And then this patch of Echinacea, it's kind of cool. It changes color, so they emerge like kind of orangey red, and then they age to like a deeper pink as well. And then back towards the back, there's another patch of darker pink. Those were self-seeded, so those kind of emerge pink and stay pink. And there's some Leotris back in there too, just about done blooming. This stuff is really shot up this year. This garden is like in its third year for a lot of these plants, so it's kind of time for them to take off. And then I have this beautiful purple sedum back here. It's also getting huge, which I love. That one, I forget, Dark Tower? I said it in other videos, now I can't think of it. And then this is Noblessa Yarrow. Real floppy because of the rain. I have been deadheading, so it blooms all summer. The blooms do turn brown like this, but I just pluck them off, and it's sending up new bloom shoots all over the place. So it'll be full of fresh white blooms. Like this one I pruned, and look at all these buds coming up here in between. So it does require some deadheading once they get brown, but it just blooms all summer. This is one of the first things to bloom. This sedum was new in the fall. That one is the Lemon Jade sedum. And these daylilies are still going, South Seas. I've cut off a few stalks now. There aren't as many open now, but today you can see how many were just open the other day by all the spent blooms, but also beautiful color. These are really tall. I love the backdrop of that Echinacea too, and the grass up behind it. We've got two more of the same sedum. What is it called again? Dark Tower? And then a little bit of a second flush of bloom on the Luminary Opalescent phlox. So I've learned, you know, the blooms will die back, and I used to go in and deadhead them. I don't do that anymore because they send up like the second round of blooms from the spent bloom heads. So this one's spent, but you can see like new blooms are forming. So even though it looks ugly, I just leave it until the second round of blooms comes, and then I will cut them back. What I do need to cut back all the way is this Shasta Daisy. This is Daisy May. Those are done now, but we've got some annuals coming up around them. And this is full of buds. I'll get up closer. That is the Holy Grail Hardy Hibiscus from Proven Winners. That is really going to be full of blooms this year. And I have a container with some Alternanthera Purple Prince that I started from seed. This is the Mighty Chestnut Daylily, kind of an interesting orangey color. These are 4 o'clocks, those bright green little guys that seed in themselves. They self-seed. I also saved seeds and started some. These are a little bit stunted, and I planted a marigold. I think I'm going to get some clearance marigolds and just pop them all in here, a whole bunch of them. Other things that are stunted are the dahlias. It's been a rough year because they don't like to be overly wet, and we have had an extremely way above average rainy summer and spring after a very dry winter. So they are growing slowly. I don't know how many blooms I'll get or when, but I just started popping other things in between just so that I get some color in here before like the very end of summer. So I had some gomphrena that I started from seed. I was going to put that elsewhere. This is a sale plant. I've never heard of this. It's called Felicia. Said it's super drought tolerant. Kind of looks like aster-like flowers, like these little purple flowers. So I got that, threw that in there on clearance. But yeah, I don't know about the dahlias. When I was digging, it was so wet when it was time to plant. I mean, this soil was just like soaked. And it smelled kind of rotten, almost like anaerobic. So I didn't have a whole lot of hope. I always plant them high. I've learned that much. But these cosmos self-seeded from last year, so I don't know what kind they are. I know what kinds I planted, but there were several of them that self-seeded, volunteers, so I'm excited to see what those are. All these taller ones, they got a head start. This is a Rosy Lights azalea. Some of these dahlias are mystery. Ooh, I do have some buds forming on this one. Some of these dahlias, I don't know what they were because I saved them from last year and did not label them properly, so they're kind of a mystery. But look at all the buds on this Holy Grail hardy hibiscus. I mean, hibiscus love moisture. They love a lot of rain. They like wet, boggy areas. And this is definitely the wettest, boggiest area of my garden. So it's very happy this year. So I'm glad. That's kind of why I planted it in here. I wanted this beautiful color, but also when we do get rain, this area really retains a ton of moisture because there's so much clay. And that's switchgrass too. I don't know if you can see if that shows up on film. Just the color in those seed heads, flowers, whatever you want to call them. There is a stargazer lily that I always forget that I plunked in the ground a while back. Managed to not disrupt it when I planted this hibiscus last 2 summers ago, I think. 2 summers ago. So that's blooming. Ooh, that smells good. I can smell it from here. Need to take a big whiff again. Get up close before it dies back. I harvested the garlic. I need to pick some beans. It's like bean season. That's all I eat for every meal now for several months, and I'm okay with that. These are the Blue 47 bush bean, or Blue Lake 47, something like that. And then we've got the 2 marigolds. There's a strawberry blonde and a fireball in there. I've started picking the shallots as they've become ripe. I think I need to come in here and pick a few more. They're drying in the garage. When the stems bend over and get soft at the neck, that's when you know they're ready to go. So I harvested the garlic out of here. I've got more lettuce to plant. I planted these marigolds. I have 6 marigolds that I seeded this spring at work actually and brought them home and transplanted. So those are growing there. This is just to hopefully keep the cats out of here from using it as a litter box. But I also found this on clearance. I just found one of them. This is the Tiara Blue Supertunia, which is actually a new 2025 release, so new for next year. And I found just one of them at a garden center. So I'm wondering if they got some samples and maybe got accidentally mixed in. I don't know. I didn't see any others at any of the other locations, just the one. And it was on clearance, so I scooped it up and said, ooh, fun. I get to try it early. My single cucumber. Oh, look, I have a cucumber on there. Yay. Maybe I'll get to do like 1 jar of pickles. Not a great year for my cucumbers germinating. I don't know, I've had trouble. And I think the voles are eating out the roots of this, all my pea pods. Because they keep turning brown, and then I pull them out and they have no roots on them at all. And this is like vole highway back behind here. I've got a little trio of strawberry blonde marigolds in here, my favorite variety. some Emerald Towers basil with all of this I grew from seed. These snapdragons are Potomac red. And then I got a few Angelonia on clearance. I don't remember the variety. They were like $1 a piece. So since my cucumbers aren't stellar, I thought, well, I'll just plant some flowers in there instead, and I'm fine with it. Peppers are finally starting to look a little bit healthier. We've had some hot weather and a few breaks from the rain. Definitely not as good as last year, though. Last year was hot and dry, which they love. But, you know, we take what we can get. This dill, all the dill back here is self-seeded. Once you have dill somewhere, you can have it forever. That thing is huge. But I do see caterpillars eating, like butterfly caterpillars eating the dill, so I'm not going to pull it up. The potatoes are starting to die back, so I'll be able to harvest those, who knows, once they die back a bunch more. There were some on the top that I picked off that were small. Once I harvest this stuff, I'm on the hunt for sale stuff just to fill these containers since they stay out here all summer and it's too late in our climate to plant anything else and have it mature in time to harvest. Not because of our frost date, but because it just cools down so much that it kind of stunts the growth. They grow real slow. I've got a second flush of strawberries coming. More self-seeded dill, and then some of these zinnias are starting to open. If I remember right, I have Zahara Raspberry Ripple, which is like a white and pink variegated one, and then I think these are Zahara White on that side, and those are the raspberry, and then Angel Face Blue Angelonia that had a little bit of a lull when I clipped the blooms back, but it is going to throw up a whole bunch more blooms here, so that'll be nice. Carrots looking good. I was able to take one of these out, my little cat proofing cages, which are like closet organizers. A couple peppers in here, and then a few zucchini that are doing really well. We've got these beautiful Americana dark red geranium that I got for $1.50 a piece. And then this garlic I will probably harvest this weekend too. Not a favorable year for garlic either. For whatever reason, the cloves are a lot smaller than what I got last year. I got some strawberry drop coleus that I planted back here while this Nepeta flushes back. This sage leaf willow is really rebounding well with this rainy year. It loves moisture. But that's looking really pretty this year. And this is a little bit older Sun King Aurelia that's been here a few more years. And then I see one bloom on the Limelight hydrangea back there, starting to open. And then the Razzle Dazzle Astilbe back here also started blooming a couple weeks ago. So I love those pink fluffy blooms. Astilbe had rough last 3 years with drought, but now they are loving life this year. And the fern, that lady in red fern, very beautiful. Something that has not been enjoying all the moisture, Brunnera. This one was so full and beautiful, and it has just almost completely died back. This one's still looking good. I have cut back a lot of leaves, and I'm starting to see a lot of dieback on it too. Starting to make me worry there's some kind of pathogen going on in the soil. Early on, I lost the one that was right in that bare spot. And these, the other ones that were beautiful in the spring, are now kind of all dying back and withering. So I do kind of wonder if there's something else going on aside from just too much moisture. I know they are very drought tolerant perennials once they're established. So I just don't know. But the Firelight hydrangeas look absolutely glorious. These are, I think this is their 4th full year now, and these blooms are massive. Huge panicles. Absolutely gorgeous. And here in northern climates, they're white for a couple weeks and immediately start turning pink because our nighttime temperatures, we always cool down enough at night for them to start turning pink. That's based on temperature. And this one seems kind of behind though. This is another little lime. but starting to put out those blooms. And then we have some Plum Cascade Heucherella down here. These Astilbe are done. Those are the Maggie Daly. And then I love this North Pole Arborvitae. That really took off in the last year. And this is the one Brunner. This is spectacular. That thing is so happy and humongous. You can see, like, this one is tiny and kind of shriveling back. So I don't know what's up with that. So let's just enjoy the firelights. How about that? Hopefully it's not getting too dark out now. The sun kind of got cloudy all of a sudden. It is the evening. I was going to film in the morning. It's just too darn hot. Like, we got super humid again. And I know it's not hot by a lot of standards because it's only getting to like the low 90s, but when that dew point is so high and there's so much humidity, ugh, it is unpleasant to be out here. So this patch of Echinacea looking gorgeous. I was kind of saying before, oh, and there's some white ones that self-seeded too. Some varieties will, I've never had issues with the hybrid, the cultivars, different colors coming back true to their original color. Like, I haven't had them revert yet. However, some of them, when they do self-seed and drop seeds everywhere, and when they do that, sometimes they go back to just the basic pink Echinacea. Their seeds are not true to the parent plant, which is fine. I think it's still gorgeous. I'm okay with that. Most of this patch is self-seeded. There are a few of the original ones in there. This is the Drops of Jupiter Ornamental Oregano. I'll definitely have to split that big one. That's a few years older than the other two, but I'm definitely going to have to split that next year. Maybe see if my friend wants some. Now, this is something else that did amazing last year. This is Nemesia. It's the Necia line. This year I got Necia Inca, which is the yellow bloom colors. Last year I got Tropical, which was kind of like orange, red, and yellow together. And this is very drought tolerant. It did awesome in the heat and the drought that we had last summer. But this summer you can see it's like all bloomed out. There are some buds on the tips of these, but I've just been starting to cut them back in the hopes that it'll put out a new flush of blooms. I didn't have this issue last year, but last year and this year's weather are like completely different. So they probably don't like all the moisture and my soil that holds on to so much moisture. But I just popped a few more sale annuals in around here. This, I forget what this is called. I have to grab the tag. I haven't grown it before, but I got a pink one and a white one just to see, because I've never grown it. I just wanted to test it out. The allium, these are Millennium allium, and they'll be opening within a few weeks, which is, I'd say, typical timing. Kind of mid-August is when they bloom. I'll tell you what, though, this Boom Chocolata geranium, hardy geranium, has never stopped blooming all summer, since the beginning of summer. I have, like, this bloom stock is spent, so I'll trim that off. It'll just keep sending up more bloom stock. So I am really liking that. I just planted that in the fall, too. This is its first season. This is another of those. This is the pink one of that annual that I haven't tried before. So that's what I like to do with sale plants. It's like, I'm not out anything or hardly anything. If I get it for $1.37, might as well just test it out, see how it grows. Madam Butterfly Bronze Snapdragon, I grew from seed, more Potomac Red. That Dusty Miller is not doing so good this year. It's kind of weird. Usually it really takes off, but oh well, they're cheap at least. The Monarda is done. I used to trim it back, but now I don't bother, and I kind of like how it looks in the winter because I have really strong stems, so it stays upright even in snow. This Helenium is starting to bloom, though. You can see how cool, how cute those little blooms are, and it is full of buds. So I'm excited about that. I love the Helenium. I think we covered pretty much everything in the back. Gosh, it's getting dark. Maybe I'll have to do the front yard in the morning because it is just really clouding up and getting pretty dim out here. So I guess I'll be back with part 2 in morning light. Probably sweating my buns off too because it's going to be so humid. So stay tuned. Oh, this is just Hakanakloa. I think it's just green. Like, it was one of the basic varieties, one of the more durable kinds. It can take more sun, more drought. And this year it kind of developed like these little leaf. Well, I think it has had the red leaf ends before. But this thing is just amazing. I used to plant a row of caladium kind of underneath so the leaves would drape over, but now it's gotten too big for that. Now it's touching the autumn frost hosta that are really getting more sunburned this year because I have more sun. Because the messy patch of mulch is where we had 2 trees taken out this spring. So, all right. Pause for now, and we'll see you in the morning. Okay, I changed my mind. I'm just going to go for it. Hopefully we get enough light here. Can always re-record if it doesn't look good. Smoke bush is just amazing. This is like a traditional classic smoke bush in tree form. This was the mature shrubs, and this were put in before we moved in, probably at least 12 to 15 years ago or more. And we've got the Russian sage still just looking spectacular. And the sedum. Sedum just looks great all year round. The Angelina sedum now is done blooming, so I cut most of those back. And now it's going to be more chartreuse green, which I love. And this one is this is Autumn Charm. I have 3 of them. This big one gets more sun. The other 2 get progressively more shade. These, the Russian sage branches there were a few drooping and hanging into those. I don't know if it's split open, if it just has gotten so big that it kind of took over. I know Russian sage tends to flop if it gets too much moisture, and it has been such a rainy year, so that could be why it had some floppy branches, but I cut those back. We've got some Serendipity allium down here. Those were new last year. These 2 kind of struggled this year, so we'll see. I mean, I'll give them a chance. Hoping these violas self-seed a little bit. Those were left over from spring containers. This is the first year the Angelina sedum has kind of gone bare in the middle, so I don't know what the deal is with that. I was hoping it would fill back in, but maybe next year I'll pull all that out and plant something else in there. But yeah, just a mix of other sedum and hens and chicks or sempervivum in here. I have some, this is not calendula, campanula. Rapido blue. Planted a bunch of clearance plants last summer. And this is thrift. It's not actually grass, it's thrift, which is like an alpine plant. That one did really well this year. I think probably because our winter was so lacking in snow. It really enjoyed that. And we'll come around to the containers, looking lovely, I think, if I do say so myself. I need to clean up some leaves around here, though. Holy cow. These are just bronze leaf begonias, sort of a pink and white mix. And this is Lismachia. I think it's called Sunshine, the non-proven winners version, but I can't really tell the difference between the 2. And just a repeat over here. This one is really full of blooms. I think this container gets a little more sun than the other one. They only get sun for a little sliver of time, kind of in the afternoon, for just a couple hours. So I can't do like full shade plants here. But things that can take, like the bronze leaf begonias, can take pretty much full sun or full shade, so they do well. These are looking really nice. These are Heucherella Solar Eclipse. They start out really bright chartreuse in the spring, and then as the leaves age, and with more sun and heat, that like brown center kind of gets wider, and the chartreuse is just in the margins. So really pretty. Still haven't trimmed my darn boxwoods. I will event one of these days, but I just realized I thought those were leaves that were like fell, but no, that's a weed growing up through. So I'm going to have to get after that. These begonias, this was kind of a test. These are just big bronze leaf rose begonias, which say they can take full sun or full shade. And this this little, I call it a container, but really it's just sort of almost like a raised bed around the lamppost. This gets full sun on this side. I think the whole thing gets full sun, but this side gets a little bit of shade from the tree. And I've struggled to find things that stay even, kind of, that grow evenly. Because I can put sun plants there. Like last year I did begonias, but this side over here was smaller. Not begonias, geranium. The geraniums on this side, whoops, sorry, stayed smaller than the ones on this side. And I can see that a little bit in the begonias, but it's not as pronounced. So I might try another, like the bronze leaf red next year too. Because those did, and they're so low maintenance. Begonias, they don't like a lot of water. They don't like fertilizer. They're so easy. Again, still waiting on this Weigela, the My Monet purple shades, I think, to bounce back, which it is starting to, from being crushed by snow a couple years ago. The obsidian heuchera look really nice down there. I don't even want to trim out the blooms. They're doing great. Same thing with Solomon's seal, and then I have a couple ghost fern back in between the hydrangeas. These are little quickfire hydrangeas, and these have been here for a number of years. These were the first things I planted up in this the front of the house. All of the evergreen shrubs were here, as I said before, but there were two scruffy spirea there. Oh, there's a plane. Hold up. We're right by the regional airport, so sometimes we get a lot of little plane traffic flying low. Yeah, so I dug out landscape rock from in here and planted these two hydrangea, and they're looking great. I should trim those blooms off, a blue angel hosta way in the back, and then an island breeze hosta, and a wedding series hellebore called, what was it called? Spanish wedding? No, I'm forgetting. And then a Molly's, Frost Kiss Molly's white down there. That one was newly planted in the fall, and then a couple of Astilbe. So this salvia might be Rose Marvel. It's a pink blooming one that was unlabeled on clearance. I just cut that way back. That was done blooming and it flopped open. Normally I would then come in, like a lot of years, I'll come in with some coleus on clearance and plant them in here, but I do plan to dig up this firecracker Lismachia once I can finish clearing the grass from kind of the back corner near where I have that native Monarda. And I'm going to plant that in there because it is also a native plant. So I'm going to have a little patch of native plants, and I think it's a little too much. The spread like crazy up here this year, so it can spread back there, but up here there's not that kind of space. This, I forget what this was, a fountain grass, a blue fountain grass of some kind. And then this is a hardy mum, kind of pink lavender shades. We've got some, it does flop over because the blooms are so heavy. And I come in and trim some of the blooms once they start browning, and that keeps it a little more upright, but it still flops. Maybe next year I should put a cage around it in early on. The patch of Surefire Rose Begonia is doing beautiful. These are interchangeable though. As far as I'm concerned, the bronze leaf rose begonia look the same and perform the same. So they're both amazing plants. Maybe the Surefire Rose get a little bit bigger, I'm not certain. But I had great luck with them last year too. And then this is the opening act Pink Dot Phlox. I have two of them in here. That one in the back gets a little more shade, so it's not as full of a second flush of blooms, but this one is flushing out its second showing now. This is Pardon My Cerise Bee Balm. I just planted that in the fall because I got it on clearance. This line is supposed to be resistant to powdery mildew, but man, this one was chock full of powdery mildew, so I don't know. I don't know if I trust it, and I'm not sure if I'll keep it here. I may move it. This is a little ground cover campanula, and then I have a bunch of these lemon ball sedum. I got a lemon coral on clearance that I think I'm going to pop in that bare spot. And then this is the patch of annual Rudbeckia that I absolutely love. I have a whole chunk of them planted in here, and they're so pretty. And these ended up being doubles. Look at that. Double blooms. I wasn't sure because the first row of petals fully opened, and then, oh, there's a little bee sleeping in there. And then the second, it was kind of doing this. And I was like, what's going on? Well, it was a second round of petals. So I love that. And then these big, huge ones with this brown stripe all the way around like the seed head. So gorgeous. I do need to come and trim these petunias when they get leggy and start sending out shoots. That's when you want to trim so that you can catch them before they start getting bare in the middle. But this container's done really great. This is 3 of the Supertunia Mini Vista, as I've said in previous videos, but I'll say again, Mini Vista Violet Star, Mini Vista Midnight, and Mini Vista White Supertunia. Mixing really, really well together. There's just 1 of each in there in this pot. That's how vigorous they are. And I love this grassy foliage. Those are Caesar's Brother Siberian Iris. I have 2 of them back there. One of them probably needs to be divided, but those bloom kind of early summer, beautiful purple. And this is a yew growing like wild. It's got all these sprouts coming out, so I'll have to trim that again. These Rudbeckia, a couple of them died back. This one's just barely hanging on, so I don't know what's going on there. This is a String Theory Amsonia that blooms beautiful light icy blue in the early summer, and that has this beautiful texture. But look at what the blooms did. They made these cool little seed heads. I had no idea it was going to do that, so I kind of like that. And then it turns golden, like a real bright butterscotch gold in the fall, so I'm psyched to see that. I have a couple of 4 o'clocks that I grew from seed back there, and then a couple of Albrado coleus. I added 1 more because I got it, of course, on clearance. See this patch of, these are looking a little bit better, less yellowed than the ones up in the back. But these Nemesia are doing the same thing, where they're kind of lulling. Although the stems look healthier, so I don't know if I'll cut these back or what. They are sending out some new shoots, though, down in the bottom, some fresh blooms. Maybe I should cut them back and just let them flush out again, fresh. The Heuchera are all doing amazing up here. I really need to look up what this one is, because I would love to plant one of those in the back, too, where my Forever Purple Heuchera just died. And this is Caramel, or Caramel Heuchera. Also amazing. These were just planted last year from clearance plants. So this is Blue Shadow Fothergilla shrub. It's an understory shrub. I was concerned it would get too much sun up here and have the blue burn off its leaves, but it's doing great. The smaller Heuchera are Caramel, and this one is, or not Caramel, Champagne. This one is Cajun Fire. And then I found this poor little Picasso in purple Supertunia. Planted it here. I don't know if it's going to make it, though. I might have to come up with a backup plan for that spot. Patriot Hosta starting to bloom, too. And then this is Limoncello Barberry. This one doesn't normally split open, but I think we've just gotten so much rain this year that it just got weighed down. It kind of has that branch memory, but I'm sure it'll rebound, and I can always prune it a little bit in the spring, too. And then I just left this. This is a self-seeded balsam. It's a type of impatiens, which is what I have all along the side garden here. I originally started with seeds that I grew, knowing it would self-seed kind of forever. And then these are hollyhocks. I do not remember the variety. Now, beautiful double blooms. I had some like burgundy ones back here too, but only the pink ones have come back from seed. Some dill that self-seeds. I love that texture, and again, any place where I can make a home for butterfly caterpillars, I'm going to do that. This balsam started blooming. This is what it does. It has these pretty different shades. There's like coral, pink, hot pink, and purple, but it gets all these little flowers along the stems, and some people will pick off the flower or the leaves in between so that you can see the flowers, but I like to leave them because they look more lush. Those I planted with, or well, those seeds plant themselves, but I have red acre cabbage back here. It's kind of a different texture and very low maintenance. Usually doesn't, well, last year I got a couple heads that were big enough to eat, but I just like that sort of pearly iridescent, and then the pretty pink veins on like blue leaves. I just love the look of purple cabbage. I think it's so ornamental. And it's easy to find for cheap, easy to grow from seed. So this was my extra single zinnia, looking good. I've got another patch of hollyhocks that's self-seeded here. A couple older ones. They get rust really bad, that's the only thing. They always get rust, that's why the leaves look like that. So I do tend to chop them back once they're done blooming. And then I planted some Salvia Victoria Blue that I got on clearance. And then I have, gosh, I need to trim this dogwood again from back here. This is Overdam Calamagrostis grass. Calamagrostis. And then I have these Leotris back here. And then Dalmatian Peach Foxglove, which I started from seed last year and have let them self-seed. There goes a mosquito. These ones that are blooming came back. This is a new patch, all self-seeded, so hoping to keep those going. I really need to trim this too. I keep forgetting I have a clematis growing on the fence here, and it needs to get a little more sun and not get shaded out by this gigantic creature. So yeah, so I guess those are all my updates. These are also these little yellow, I haven't grown these before, but next year I think I'll plan for them. They were African daisies that I grew from seed. And they're kind of fun. They've just gone wild over here. I don't know if they're so happy, but they're pretty tough plants. So that is the update. Man, it's like the back of this planter looks even better than the front. That white Super Tutti Mini Vista is just gorgeous. So I'll leave you with that. Thank you again so much for watching, especially if you stick around all the way to the end of my videos. Really appreciate it. I enjoy having a platform just to talk about plants. It's my favorite thing. So anyway, have a great day and please subscribe.